Hello, Internet. It's once again that time. A little later in the evening than I meant to, but God knows why. So let's read the Bible, even if it is weird living translation, which I did look up the living translation just to see what the deal was. This is not a word for word translation style of the Bible um, translation. This is a thought for thought, unquote. So they paraphrase. It's meant for new believers to kind of get a basic idea, but not really. Yeah, I know, Yamper. It's silly. But not really for intense study or, for historical research purposes. So that's why a lot of the wording is weird to me as someone who's read other translations before, and why a lot of times instead of leaving it up kind of in the air what the Bible means, it'll just give a meaning, even if it's not 100% sure that's the right one. So, um, because I am cheap and do not wish to buy another Bible, we will continue with this one. If nothing else, it gives me something to rant about whenever it just says something that bothers me. Of course, I have the whole Bible memorized. At some point, I assume it will just be different and I won't notice. So, anyway, let's begin with Genesis chapter 13, verse 5, all the way to chapter 15, verse 21. Should I do a funny? Or, let's go Asian. That's fun. Lot too was very wealthy with sheep and cattle and many servants, but the land could not support both Abram and Lot with all their flocks and herds. There were too many animals for available pasture. So fights broke out between the herdsmen of Abram and Lot. Oh, there was a hyphen there. So fights broke out between the herds, men of Abram and Lot, despite the danger they all faced from the tribes of Canaanites and Perizzites present in the land. Then Abram talked it over with Lot. This fighting between our men has got to stop, he said. We can't afford to let a rift develop between our clans. Close relatives, such as we are, must present a united front. I'll tell you what we'll do. Take your choice of any section of land you want, and we will separate. If you want a part of over there to the east, then I'll stay here in the western section. Or if you want the western, then I go over there to the east. Not long Lot took a long look at the fertile plains of the Jordan River, well watered everywhere. This was before Jehovah destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Spoilers. The whole section was like the Garden of Eden, or like a beautiful countryside around Zoar in Egypt. So, that is what Lot chose, the Jordan Valley to the east. He went there with his flocks and servants, and thus he and Abram parted company. For Abram stayed in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain, settling at a place near the city of Sodom. The men of this area were unusually wicked and sinned greatly against Jehovah. It's not good. After Lot was gone, the Lord said to Abram, look as far as you can see in every direction, for I am going to give it all to you and your descendants. And I am going to give you so many descendants that, like dust, they can't be counted. Hike in all directions and explore
the new possessions I am giving you. Then Abram moved his tent to the oaks of Mamre near Hebron and built an altar to Jehovah there. Now war filled the land. Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasah, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Goim, fought against Bera, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shimba, king of Zeboim, and king of Bela, later called Zoar. These kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Adam, Zeboim, and Bela mobilized their armies in Siddim Valley. That is the valley of the Dead Sea. For 12 years, they had all been subject to King Chedorlaomer. But now, in the 13th year, they rebelled. 1 year later, Chedorlaomer and his armies arrived, and the slaughter began. For they were victorious over the following tribes at the places indicated: the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzim in Ham, the Emin in the plain of Kirathaim, the Horites in Mount Seir, as far as El Paran, at the edge of the desert. Within they swung out to Imishpat, Imish, Imishpat, that is hard to say with his accent, later called Kadesh, and destroyed the Amalekites and also Amorites living in Hazan Tamar. But now the other army, that of the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Adam, Zeboim, and Bela, Zoar, unsuccessfully attacked Chedorlaomer and his allies as they were in the Dead Sea Valley. 4 kings against 5. As it happened, the valley was full of asphalt pits, and the army of kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled. Some slipped into the pits, and the remainder fled to the mountains. Then the victors plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and carried off all their wealth and food, and went on their homeward way, taking with them Lot, Abram's nephew, who lived in Sodom, and all he owned. One of the men who escaped came and told Abram, the Hebrew, who was camping among the oaks belonging to Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and Aner, Abram's allies. When Abram learned that Lot had been captured, he called together the men born into his household, 318 of them in all, and chased after the retiring army as far as Dan. He divided his men and attacked during the night from several directions. He pursued the fleeing army to Hobah, north of Damascus, and recovered everything: the loot that had been taken, his relative Lot, and all of Lot's possessions, including the women and other captives. As Abram returned from his strike against Chedorlaomer and the other kings at the valley of Shaveh, later called King's Valley, the king of Sodom came out to meet him, and Melchizedek, the king of Salem, later Jerusalem, who was a priest of the God of highest heaven, brought him bread and wine. Then Melchizedek blessed Abram with this blessing: the blessing of the supreme God, creator of heaven and earth, be upon you, Abram, and blessed be God who has delivered you enemies over to you.
Is getting a little French there for South African. For is like a weird mix. I kind of lost it. Anyway,
Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of all the loot. The king of Sodom told him, just give me back my people who were captured. Keep for yourself the booty stolen from my city. But Abram replied, I have solemnly promised Jehovah, the supreme God, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take so much as a single thread from you, lest you say, Abram is rich because of what I gave him. All I'll accept is what these young men of mine have eaten. But give a share of the loot to Anah, Eshcol, and Mamre, my allies.
man, that's starting to hurt my throat. Let's do an easier voice. Um, Afterward, no, we're not doing Squidward. We'll just do normal. Afterwards, Jehovah spoke to Abram in a vision, and this is what he told him: Don't be fearful, Abram, for I will defend you, and I will give you great blessings. But Abram replied,
O Lord Jehovah, what good are all your blessings when I have no son? For without a son, some other member of my household will inherit my wealth.
Then Jehovah told him, No, no one else will be your heir, for you will have a son to inherit everything you own. Then God brought Abram outside beneath the nighttime sky and told him, Look up into the heavens and count the stars if you can. Your descendants will be like that, too many to count. And Abram believed God, and God considered him righteous on account of his faith. And he told him, I am Jehovah, who brought you out of the city of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land. But Abram replied,
O Lord Jehovah, how can I be sure that you will give it to me?
Then Jehovah told him to take a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon, and to slay them and cut them apart down the middle, and to separate the halves, but not to divide the birds. And when the vultures came down upon the carcasses, Abram shooed them away. That evening, as the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and a vision of terrible foreboding, darkness, and horror. Then Jehovah told Abram, Your descendants will be oppressed as slaves in a foreign land for 400 years. I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and at the end they will come away with great wealth. But you will die in peace at a ripe old age. After 4 generations they will return here to this land, for the wickedness of the Amorite nations living here now will not be ready for punishment until then. As the sun went down and it was dark, Abram saw a smoking firepot and a flaming torch that passed between the halves of the carcasses. So that day Jehovah made his covenant with Abram. I have given this land to your descendants, from the Wadi El Arish to the Euphrates River, and I give to them these nations: the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaim, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, Jebusites. All right, that's the Old Testament reading. Now, for the New Testament, we pick back up in Matthew chapter 5, verse 27 through verse 48. Hmm, let's see, any fun voices that aren't too hard? How about we haven't done Scottish yet? Why not? The laws of Moses said, "Ye shall not commit adultery." But I say, anyone who even looks at a woman with lust in his eye has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Ah, there's the verse. It was just they didn't finish where I thought they would finish. So that was the verse I mentioned last time. I was confused why it wasn't in the initial list because it was in the next bit of verses. So that makes me feel good. I wasn't losing my mind. Well, I might be losing my mind, but not about the Bible. Anyway,
So if your eye, even if it's your best eye, causes you to lust, gouge it out and throw it away. Better for part of you to be destroyed than for all of you to be cast into hell. And if your hand, even your right hand, causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. Better than find yourself in hell. The law of Moses says, if anyone wants to be rid of his wife, he can divorce her merely by giving her a letter of dismissal. But I say that a man who divorces his wife, except for fornication, causes her to commit adultery if she marries again, and he who marries her commits adultery. Again, the law of Moses says, you shall not break your vows to God, but must fulfill them all. But I say, don't make any vows. And even to say, by heavens, is a sacred vow to God, for the heavens are God's throne. And if you say, by the earth, it is a sacred vow, for the earth is his footstool. And don't swear by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the capital of the great king. Don't even swear by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. Say just a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't. Your word is enough. To strengthen your promise with a vow shows that something is wrong. The law of Moses says if a man gouges out another's eye, he must pay with his own eye. If a tooth gets knocked out, knock out the tooth of the one who did it. But I say, don't resist violence. If you're slapped on one cheek, turn the other too. If you are ordered to court and your shirt is taken from you, give your coat too. If the military demand that you carry their gear for a mile, carry it too. Give it to those who ask, and don't turn away from those who want to borrow. There is a saying, love your friends and hate your enemies. But I say, love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. In that way, you will be acting as true sons of your Father in heaven. For he gives his sunlight to both the evil and the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust too. If you love only those who love you, what good is that? Even scoundrels do that much. If you are friendly only to your friends, how are you different from anyone else? Even the heathen do that. But you are to be perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect.
I'm glad I chose that voice. It fit really well with Jesus's diatribe there. Hopefully, I said that word in the proper context. I think so. His rant. I think that's this. I think that's a synonym. Anyway, that's the New Testament. On to Psalms, new chapter, chapter 6, verses 1 through 10. I'm sticking with Scottish. That was fun.
No, Lord, don't punish me in the heat of your anger. Pity me, O Lord, for I am weak. Heal me, for my body is sick, and I am upset and disturbed. My mind is filled with apprehension and with gloom.
Mood.
O restore me soon. Come, O Lord, and make me well. In your kindness save me, for if I die, I cannot give you glory by praising you before my friends. I am worn out with pain. Every night my pillow is wet with tears. My eyes are growing old and dim with grief because of all my enemies. Go, leave me now, you men of evil deeds, for the Lord has heard my weeping and my pleading. He will answer all my prayers. All my enemies shall be suddenly dishonored, terror stricken, disgraced. God will turn them back in shame.
That one hit home for me. Even in this translation, that one hit home for me. Anyway, on to Proverbs. We'll just read this one normal. Close out simply. Chapter 1 still, verses 29 through 33. For you closed your eyes to the facts, and did not choose to reverence and trust the Lord. And you turned your back on me, spurning my advice. That is why you must eat the bitter fruit of having your own way, and experience the full terrors of the pathway you have chosen. For you turned away from me to death. Your own complacency will kill you. Fools! But all who listen to me shall live in peace and safety, unafraid. Interesting. Well, that's all our Bible reading for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow.